My name is George. I'm from the council. One of the things I'm really proud of at the council is our library service, and I really encourage everyone to take advantage of the library. It's not hard to have fun when you have a library card. There's a lot of services here. We've got family history research, chess clubs, reading for children, and history talks. So if you don't already have a library card, please don't leave today without one. We have monthly history talks at the Maribor Library and monthly wildlife talks here. So if you're interested in further activities at the library, please find a flyer near the front. There's plenty of seats up the front. It is. Okay, so I'm talking today about the Urangan Pier because it celebrates its centenary in a couple of months. It probably was built by about this time, 100 years ago, but it takes time to organize official ceremonies with dignitaries. So its official centenary is the 3rd of March. The 4th of March this year is a Saturday, so we're organizing sort of a festival at the Urangan Pier Park on the 4th of March, Saturday, to celebrate its centenary. But I want to talk a bit today about its first 100 years, what's happened, how it was built, and its different uses. So when people write histories and try and work out what's happened over time, they often try and identify a few people and then put a narrative through that. Traditionally, it's been about kings and queens and presidents, and more recently, people talk about social movements. But to start off, I just want to talk about two individuals which help explain some of the things that were happening in the late 1860s. The first person on the left is James Nash. If you go near Gympie, they'll tell you they saved the state, and he pretty much did it. He found gold in 1867 in Gympie. And the man on the right is Boyle Martin. He was the first permanent European settler in Hervey Bay. He actually arrived here with his wife Sarah, and she was looking after the infant, but the person that gets remembered is the man, Boyle Martin. So he came along and spent some time by the sea, and Sarah looked after the child. And so he was a timber getter, and they landed at what's called Boyle Martin Landing. Could be called Sarah Martin Landing. But the last council was an all-male council, and that's the name it came up with. So in these two men and their wives were at different points in this region. The southern point of the region at Gympie, James Nash, would have been somebody else eventually, but it was him who found gold in Gympie and kick-started the Gympie Gold Rush. And that's what really helped the Maribor economy. If you go to Maribor and you see the grand buildings, they were almost all built in the very late 1860s, the 1870s, and the 1880s, the grand buildings, because that's when Maribor was functioning as the principal port for the Gympie Gold Rush, and all the money was coming in, and the prosperity was obvious. And so at this very time, people often say 1863, but it's actually probably more like 1865 or 66 that Boyle Martin arrived here at Hervey Bay, so at the other end, which was pretty much the nearest deep water area for Gympie. So these men in the 1860s were bringing about changes which would be formalized in 1917 with the Pialba Railway and the Urangan Pier. So the process of these two men, their two actions at either end of the region would be joined by a railway many, many decades later. That came about, it started its formation in 1877 when the colonial government, the Queensland colonial government, approved the construction of 3 railways to connect mining towns to their principal ports. So Townsville to Charters Towers, Bundaberg to Mount Perry. And if you ever get the chance to visit Mount Perry, you should. It's not a ghost town. And there still is a mine there, actually, a gold mine, but it's a beautiful town in the mountains. And of course, Maribor to Gympie. The stations at Gympie and Maribor were the terminus, so you had like these three lines. They were very discrete lines. So you had a line from Maribor, this is the Maribor station, to Gympie, and that serviced the Gympie goldfields. And that line opened in 1881. And that worked quite well for it. It was a bit to do with exporting the gold. The gold would come to Maribor, stored in the safe, and then go. But also there was a mass of immigrants and a mass of material coming into Maribor, going down to Gympie. And that worked really well for an ore that was sold by the ounce and could be stored in safes and in pockets. But the next major ore that was to really help the economy was actually coal, which instead of being sold by the ounce is sold by the ton. So you needed a different type of export facility to the one that was up a windy river and that had to have rather shallow boats. So the mine proprietors around Howard, Tormund Lee, the Burm district, they started advocating for a deep water port in the early 1880s. The line was connected to Maryborough by 1883, the line which would eventually go up to Bundaberg and further up the north coast. So the mines were connected to the Maryborough port, but it wasn't entirely economical to export coal through the wharves at Maryborough. So by 1883, there were plans being put about for a private railway or tramway system. Initially, it was going to go to Burham Heads and export through there, but then through Pyalba to make the Burham district a real rival to Newcastle coal. However, there were a lot of fits and starts, and throughout the 1880s and 1890s, different people put forward proposals, and they went bankrupt and it never got off the ground. But by the mid-1890s, new legislation was put in by the colonial government, which allowed councils to guarantee a line. So the council of the day, which was at that time the Berkshire Council, we've had a lot of councils here. People often talk about the amalgamations of 2008, but in this area we've had, the Degilbo Council, the Howard Council, the Pyalba Shire Council, the Hervey Shire, the Hervey City, Hervey Town. We had the Granville Council, so we've had a lot of different councils, but the council at the time, the Berkshire Council, guaranteed this line, which enabled the Queensland colonial government to open the line between Maryborough, branching off at Colton, to Pyalba. It was a relatively easy line to build because it's quite flat, and they went up through Colton because it meant they didn't have to bridge too many creeks. They could avoid the deep water area of Saltwater Creek. And by October 1896, it was possible to get to Aalborg, which is now called Nickenbaugh. And then the full line to Pyalba was opened in December 1896. And the official opening with 3 government ministers took place 2 days later. So in the first 3 years, that line between Colton and Pyalba sustained a loss because there wasn't really a lot happening. It took a while for the pig farmers, the dairy farmers, the sugar farm, the pineapple and sugar to really take full advantage of it, but it was recognized that this was a growing area. And it served as a form of communication and for visiting and for tourism. But deep water access was still the goal. This is the Pyalba, the Pyalba railway station, which is still there in Freedom Park. It's just been turned around for some reason. So that's looking out towards where you'll be standing. Those ruts in the front would probably be Main Street. This is another shot. This is from the other side. The Pyalba train station and the station master and the staff were famous for their gardens. Here you can see the platform. So this is the side. It used to face away from Freedom Park. It's been turned around and now faces Freedom Park. So people walk through those doors now to see the Vietnam Veterans Association. This is another good shot of some of their gardens. So the goal was still, that serviced Pyalba really well, and the farms in between Pyalba and Colton, and brought about the tourism. The goal was still to get to a deep water port, which obviously Pyalba, if you go down there at low tide or even high tide, you can go quite far out. So they knew they had to get to Urangan, and in 1907 and 1910 they did trial surveys, and then a working survey was undertaken in 1912. This is the premiere of the day, Digby Denham, turning the first sod for the last stretch, which was a relatively short stretch, Pyalba to Urangan. The line opened on the 19th of December 1913, and it was opened by Minister Paget, who opened he was the transport minister at the time, and he opened more lines and stations than anyone else, and he had a huge collection of all the souvenirs that go with that, little silver toys and shovels. So this was the line that we then had from 1913 onwards, and then 1917 we got the Urangan Pier. So the line at the top is the North Coast line, which went on to Howard and then Bundaberg and up north to Cairns eventually. The North Coast Railway is kind of unique in that it's this grand long railway at the moment, but it's actually a collection of so many little railway lines that were just joined together. And then you have the Urangan, Takira, Mulligan, serving the different coal fields and sugar, Nickenbaugh, which was primarily for sugar farmers, and pineapple. And then you got into the more, what became suburban trains on the last section, Isles, Garnes, Torquay, and Urangan. But the pier, its principal construction period was 1913 to 1917. And here you have a photo, I think, from 1915, showing some of the early construction undertaken. So the Maryborough Chamber of Commerce had been the principal agent advocating for the construction of the pier, and the Member of Parliament, Bernard Corsta. And the foreman who was appointed for that construction site right there at the pier was Percy Hanson, who was Brendan Hanson's father. Brendan Hanson is very well known now. If you renew your license, you've got to go to the Brendan Hanson building. He was a member of the Maryborough City Council, the State Parliament, and the Federal Parliament, which is quite a unique thing if you're interested in politics. But and his daughter Mary Hanson was in a really good band, Stereo Lab. His wife Moira is quite an accomplished singer. But Percy Hanson, his father, was the foreman, and the Hervey Historical Society has done an excellent job in copying all of his notebooks, which illustrate, which identify the number of men working each day, the weather, how many piles have been drawn. And I think we got a copy of it here. You can certainly view it at the Hervey Historical Village. During the construction of the pier, there actually wasn't any suitable accommodation at Urangan for Percy. There wasn't much happening at Urangan at this time. And so he brought his house down. It's believed it was his house, it was certainly a house, was taken down the Mary River on a barge, brought to the beach, and then taken up to a suitable spot for the duration of the construction. And then when that had finished, it was taken back up to Maryborough. The wood that was used was local. Certainly the piles for the wharf section were turpentine logs from Fraser Island. These were copper clad on the beach and then hauled out to the low water mark by a bullock team owned by Arthur Smith, then towed out to be driven in by pile drivers. The reason they very specifically chose this wood, it was very convenient that it was nearby, that you had suitable wood. But this is actually really good wood for marine activities because it is resistant to Terida nivalis, this is what happens if your wood isn't protected against this type of, they call it a worm. Because of the oil in the wood, the technical name for the wood is Syncarpia hillii, Fraser Island turpentine. The oil in the wood makes them resistant to Terida nivalis, which is a marine worm which bores into floating or submerged wood, known as shipworm. So if you go to Holland now, the dikes are principally constructed out of earth and concrete, but once upon a time they were constructed out of wood, and this worm attacked the wood, and then they failed, and the whole areas of Holland were flooded because the dikes failed. And certainly on the Tilbury docks in London after they were destroyed in World War II, they were reconstructed with Fraser Island turpentine. And if you go to the Suez Canal, the sidings are logs as well. So the pier was about 1,300 yards long, with the final 125 being the wharf area. At spring tide, the depth was 28 feet, 9 inches. And the cost was £46,000. I did some calculations yesterday, so £46,000 at that time works out to £4.7 million today, which if you then convert it to Australian dollars is 8 million Australian dollars today, which we wouldn't be able to build it now for that amount. We replaced the pylons over a period of time and it almost cost that amount. And that's without doing the wharf at the end and doing much less than the last 500 or so meters. So the principal protagonist for it was, as I said before, Maryborough Chamber of Commerce, and here you have them So it was officially opened in March 1917, but this is August 1916 when they talk about the pier being now complete, except for the railway lines. So we have here the president of the Chamber of Commerce advocating to the government to hurry up and build the railway line so that their local businesses could use it. Of course, the date, August 1916, all levels of government were kind of preoccupied with the war. So it really this sort of demonstrates how keen the mayor of the Chamber of Commerce was for it to be finished. This is another photo you see in the top right-hand corner, and I'll talk a bit later about the naming of it. Here they call it, this is January 1916, so over a year before it was actually officially opened. So I don't know how much the pier was completed past where this picture was taken, but certainly this stretch of the pier, I mean, they've got the railings, it's entirely complete, and you can see the bend way at the back. So it's quite substantial, but obviously the rail hasn't been put in yet. But they call it Urangan Deepwater Port Pier, Mary River, which obviously is very wrong. These are some good photos here of the gardens. Queen's Park has had a lot of different attractions, including monkey cages, but this is when they had a lot of lakes down at the bottom. And that's Kennedy Bridge, which is still in Bundaberg. So I mentioned before the name. I'll just read a story out from actually the very start of construction, October 1913. And one time I'm going to do a talk about the history of the Maryborough-Hervey Bay rivalry, something like a tale of two cities, because it's just phenomenal. I mean, you can go back. I mean, the other day I was looking for an obituary in August 1972 in the Chronicle, and you had the Maryborough, and this was the week just happened. It was the week that the government shut down the passenger service on the railway line, and so you had the Maryborough Chamber of Commerce begging the Hervey Bay Chamber of Commerce to continue to support the continuation of the train line, which was only getting 25 passengers a day.